Martha's hands tremble as she grips the clay jar. Her knuckles white against the worn ceramic, water spills over the rim, splashing onto the stone floor. Her breath catches. Behind her, the murmur of guests, the clatter of preparation, the weight of expectation pressing down on her shoulders. But her eyes are locked on the doorway where he sits, Jesus of Nazareth, speaking softly to her sister Mary, who remains motionless at his feet like the world itself has stopped spinning. Martha's jaw tightens. The jar feels heavier than it should. Why did Jesus publicly correct the woman who served him with everything she had? What was Martha really doing wrong? And what did she get right that we've missed for 2,000 years? And what does her story reveal about the one thing Jesus says we all need, the thing most of us are running from right now? By the end of this story, you'll see that Martha's correction wasn't rejection, it was an invitation into something she'd been running from her entire life. And you'll discover why her story might be your story too. If you're ready to see this in a whole new light, subscribe and turn on the bell, because what happens next will change everything. 3 years earlier, Bethany, a small village clinging to the eastern slope of the Mount of Olives, close enough to Jerusalem to feel the weight of the temple's shadow, far enough to taste freedom. Martha is 22 years old, though her hands look older. Flour dusts her cheek as she kneads bread in the pre-dawn darkness, her movements sharp and efficient, practiced from years of necessity. The rhythm is almost violent. Push, fold, as if she's trying to knead something else into submission besides the dough. In the next room, separated only by a thin curtain, her father lies dying. His breath comes in shallow rasps, each one a little weaker than the last. Martha can hear every labored inhale, every pause that lasts too long. She doesn't stop kneading. The door scrapes open. Her brother Lazarus stumbles in, his face pale in the lamplight, eyes red-rimmed from a sleepless night. He's younger than Martha by 3 years, gentle where she is steel, and right now he looks completely undone. "The rabbi was here," Lazarus says, his voice breaking. He says Father won't last the day. Martha's hands still for just a moment, then she continues kneading, harder now. Then we prepare. Martha. There's work to do, Lazarus. He stands there, helpless, watching his sister attack the dough like it's personally wronged her. The silence between them is thick with everything unsaid. Grief, fear, the terrible knowledge that after today everything will be different. The curtain rustles. Mary enters, their younger sister, barely 18, her face swollen from crying. She reaches for Martha's arm, trying to still those relentless hands. "Martha, please, come sit with him, while there's still time." Martha pulls away, leaving a streak of flour on Mary's sleeve. "Someone has to make sure we eat tomorrow." That doesn't stop just because her voice catches. She swallows it down. "There's work to do." Mary's hand falls to her side. She and Lazarus exchange a glance, one of many they've shared over the years, a silent language born from watching their older sister carry weights she won't let anyone else touch. The day passes in a blur of preparation. Neighbors will come, mourners. The house must be ready. Martha moves through the rooms like a storm, sweeping, arranging, preparing food for people she doesn't want to see. Every few minutes, that rasping breath from behind the curtain, a reminder of the one thing she cannot control, cannot fix, cannot organize into submission. As the sun sets, painting the walls gold and crimson, Martha finally allows herself to enter her father's room. She carries a basin of water, a clean cloth. Lazarus and Mary are already there, sitting on either side of the bed, holding his hands. Martha kneels at the foot of the bed and begins washing her father's feet, slowly, carefully, the first gentle thing she's done all day. Her father's eyes flutter open. He's been unconscious for hours, but now, in this moment, he sees her, really sees her. His lips move, barely a whisper. "My daughter." Martha's hands pause on his ankle. "You carry the whole house on your shoulders." Each word costs him. "But who carries you?" The question hangs in the air like incense. Martha stares at her father's feet, calloused, worn, the feet of a man who worked until his body gave out. She wants to answer. She opens her mouth, but no words come. What would she even say? That she doesn't need carrying, that she's fine, that someone has to be strong. His hand reaches down, trembling, and touches her hair, the way he did when she was small, when she would skin her knees and refuse to cry. "My strong one," he whispers. "My Martha, who will teach you to rest?" His hand falls. His eyes close. 3 breaths later, he's gone. The sound that tears from Lazarus is primal. Mary collapses across their father's chest, sobbing. But Martha sits frozen, her hands still wet from washing his feet. His last question echoing in her skull like a stone dropped in a well, falling and falling with no bottom in sight. "Who carries you?" The burial happens at sunset the next day. The whole village comes. The rabbi speaks of God's comfort, of the promise of resurrection, of the peace that passes understanding. Martha stands between her siblings, dry-eyed, back straight, receiving condolences with a nod, a tight smile, words of thanks that taste like ash. Inside, her mind is racing. The house, the debts, the land. Lazarus is too gentle to negotiate with the merchants. Mary is too young. It falls to her. It always falls to her. As the first shovel of earth falls on her father's body, something inside Martha's chest clenches like a fist. She thinks, comfort. I don't need comfort. I need to make sure we survive. But even as she thinks it, a single tear escapes, rolling down her cheek before she can stop it. She wipes it away violently, as if it were a betrayal, as if grief were a luxury she cannot afford. The crowd begins to disperse as darkness falls. Martha turns to leave, and that's when she hears it. 2 women talking in low voices near the olive trees. "Did you hear? There's a new teacher." "From Nazareth." Another one. "No, this one's different. They say he heals the sick. They say..." A pause. "They say he raises the dead." Martha stops walking. She doesn't turn around, doesn't acknowledge that she's heard. But the words sink in like seeds in soil, deep and hidden and dangerous. She looks back at the grave, at the fresh earth, at the place where her father lies beyond reach. Then she takes Lazarus and Mary by the hands and leads them home, her grip tight enough to hurt. That night, alone in the dark, Martha makes a promise to the silence. "Whatever it takes, I will hold this family together. Whatever it costs." She doesn't know yet that the cost will be everything, and that 3 years from now, a man from Nazareth will look her in the eyes and ask if she's willing to pay it. 6 weeks pass. The household finds its new rhythm, though it's more like a limp than a dance. Martha rises before dawn, same as always, and falls into bed long after her siblings sleep. The work is endless. Barley to grind, bread to bake, the garden to tend, water to haul from the well. Lazarus tries to help, but his heart isn't in it. He moves through the days like a ghost, still mourning, still lost. Mary tries too, in her way, but she's easily distracted, stopping mid-task to stare at nothing, or disappearing for hours to sit under the olive trees where their father used to pray. Martha doesn't have time for ghosts or olive trees. The merchants in Jerusalem are circling like vultures, knowing the household is vulnerable. A family with no father, no adult sons, just a young man too kind for his own good, and 2 unmarried daughters. There are debts to manage, contracts to renegotiate, a delicate dance of appearing strong enough to respect, but not so strong as to threaten male pride. She handles it. She always handles it, but she's tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. One evening, Lazarus comes home with light in his eyes for the first time since the funeral. He finds Martha in the courtyard, grinding grain, her arms aching from the repetitive motion. "Martha, I need to tell you something." She doesn't look up. "If it's about the eastern field, I already spoke to Simon. He'll wait another month for payment." It's not about the field. He sits down across from her, and something in his voice makes her pause. There's a teacher passing through Bethphage tomorrow, the one they've been talking about, Jesus of Nazareth. Her hands still on the grinding stone. And I want to go hear him. People say, Martha, they say he speaks with authority, not like the Pharisees. They say when he talks about God, it's like, he struggles for words, like God is actually close, like God actually cares. Martha resumes grinding, the stone scraping rhythmically. We can't afford miracles, Lazarus. We need grain. I'm not asking for miracles. I'm asking for hope. Hope doesn't pay debts. Neither does despair. The words hit harder than he intended. Martha's jaw tightens, but she says nothing. Lazarus waits for a response, but when none comes, he stands to leave. At the doorway, he pauses. Mary's coming with me. Now Martha looks up. Mary has work to do. Mary is dying inside. Martha, we both are. You're so busy holding everything together, you don't see that we're falling apart. He leaves before she can respond. Martha sits alone in the gathering darkness, the grinding stone idle in her lap, her brother's words echoing in the space her father's question left behind. The next day, Martha wakes to find Mary's sleeping mat empty. She's already gone, slipped away at first light to walk the 2 miles to Bethphage with Lazarus. Martha's anger flares hot and immediate. She attacks the day's work with renewed fury, kneading bread so hard the dough tears, scrubbing floors that don't need scrubbing, finding a dozen tasks that absolutely must be done right now. But underneath the anger is something else, something that feels dangerously close to loneliness. The sun is setting when Mary returns. She comes through the door like she's walking on air, her face luminous in a way Martha hasn't seen since before their father died. She doesn't even apologize for leaving. She just stands there, radiant, while Martha waits for an explanation. Martha, Mary breathes, you should have been there. Someone had to work. He's not like anyone I've ever heard. When he speaks, it's like... She searches for words. It's like he sees you, really sees you, not what you do or who people think you are. He sees who you actually are, underneath everything, and he... Her voice breaks. He loves it. He loves who we are. Martha turns away, focusing on the evening meal. That's nice, Mary. He talked about the kingdom of God, about how it's not something far away or impossible. He said it's here, now, for anyone who wants it. He said we don't have to earn it or prove we're worthy. We just have to receive it. Receive it, Martha repeats, her voice flat, like a gift. Yes, exactly like a gift. Martha slams the knife down on the cutting board. Mary, we don't have time for gifts. We have debts. We have land taxes due before Passover. We have a household to run and no father to protect us. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what happens to families like ours if we don't? I know, Martha. Mary's voice is quiet but steady. I know you're carrying everything. I see you. But when was the last time you sat down? The question, so similar to her father's last words, stops Martha cold. She stares at her sister, at this girl woman who suddenly seems older than her years, and she can't answer. When was the last time? She doesn't remember. When was the last time you let someone care for you? Mary presses, when was the last time you weren't doing something, fixing something, managing something? Martha's throat tightens. Someone has to. But does it have to be you, all of it, all the time? Yes. The word comes out harder than she intends. Yes, Mary, it does. Because if I don't, who will? You, Lazarus. You're both so busy looking for hope in some wandering teacher that you can't see what's right in front of you. She gestures at the house, the courtyard, the grinding stone. This is what's real. This is what keeps us alive. Mary's eyes fill with tears, but she doesn't look away. Martha, this isn't living. This is just not dying. The words hang between them like a chasm. Martha wants to argue, to defend herself, to explain that someone has to be responsible, someone has to be the adult. But looking at Mary's face, open, sincere, glowing with something Martha doesn't recognize anymore, she can't find the words. Instead, she turns back to her work. Go wash for supper. Mary lingers for a moment, then quietly leaves. Martha stands alone in the kitchen, her hands gripping the edge of the table, breathing hard. Through the window, she can hear Mary and Lazarus talking in low voices, their words indistinct, but their tone gentle, hopeful. When was the last time you sat down? That night, Martha goes to draw water from the well. It's late. She's waited until the village is asleep because she can't face the other women, can't endure their pity or their questions about how the family is managing. The moon is bright enough to see by as she lowers the bucket, listening to the splash far below. While she waits for the bucket to fill, she hears voices, 2 women from a neighboring house, talking as they walk home from visiting a friend. They don't see Martha in the shadows. Did you hear about that teacher from Nazareth? The one who heals people. My husband saw him in Capernaum. What did he say? He said the man ate with tax collectors, with sinners, with anyone who would have him. A pause. My husband says he's dangerous, says the Pharisees are already watching him. Dangerous how? The way he talks about God, like God is his father, like anyone can just approach the Almighty. No temple, no sacrifice, just come. A laugh, but there's bitterness in it. If only it were that simple. My husband says he'll be dead within a year. You can't challenge the authorities like that and survive. The voices fade as the women walk on. Martha stands frozen, the rope slack in her hands. The bucket is full, but she doesn't pull it up. She's staring at her reflection in the well's opening, distorted, dark, barely recognizable. She looks exhausted. No, more than that. She looks haunted. Her face is tight, lined with worry, older than her 22 years. When did that happen? When did she start looking like this? She thinks of Mary's glowing face, of Lazarus's momentary spark of hope, of a teacher who speaks of God like he's close, like he cares, like the kingdom is a gift and not a burden to earn. Martha pulls up the bucket. The water sloshes as she lifts it, and some spills on her hands, cold, clean, shocking against her skin. She stands there for a long moment, water dripping from her fingers, staring at nothing. Then she turns and carries the bucket home, her back straight, her face set. Inside the house, Lazarus is already asleep. But Mary is awake, sitting by the lamp, and when Martha enters, their eyes meet. Martha, Mary says softly, he's coming here. What? Jesus, Lazarus invited him. He'll be here tomorrow. The bucket slips from Martha's hands. It doesn't fall. She catches it at the last second, but water splashes across the floor, pooling at her feet. She stares at her sister, a dozen emotions warring in her chest. Anger, fear, something else she can't name. Tomorrow, she repeats. Mary nods. Lazarus said he travels with his disciples, maybe 12 or 15 men. They'll need food, rest. Of course they will, of course. Martha's mind is already racing, bread to bake, fish to buy from the market, cushions to arrange, the house to clean. There's so much to do, so much to prepare. The work of it crashes over her like a wave, and she's drowning before she's even begun. But underneath the panic, there's something else, something small and dangerous. Curiosity. Martha doesn't sleep. She lies on her mat, staring at the ceiling, her mind a whirlwind of calculations and preparations. 15 men, maybe more. Bread, oil, wine, fish if she can afford it. The courtyard needs sweeping. The cushions need beating. The lampstands need oil. The list grows longer with each passing hour until finally, before dawn, She gives up on sleep entirely and rises. By the time the sun breaks over the Mount of Olives, Martha has already been to the market. She spent more than she should have, money they don't really have, but she can't let him come to her house unprepared. What would people say? What would he think? That this family can't manage? That they're poor, desperate, barely holding on? No. If Jesus of Nazareth is coming to her home, everything must be perfect. She returns to find Lazarus already awake, pacing the courtyard with nervous energy. He helps her carry the supplies inside, then hovers uselessly while she begins preparations. "Martha, you don't have to do all this." "Yes, I do." "He's not coming to inspect the house. He's coming to—" "Lazarus, please." She doesn't look up from kneading the dough. "Just don't break anything." He opens his mouth to argue, then thinks better of it. He's learned over the years that when Martha gets like this, focused, driven, bordering on frantic, there's no reasoning with her. He retreats to help Mary clean the courtyard instead. The morning passes in a blur of activity. Martha is everywhere at once, kneading bread, chopping vegetables, arranging cushions, barking orders at her siblings when they're not moving fast enough. Sweat beads on her forehead. Her hair escapes her head covering. Her hands move with mechanical precision, but there's something desperate in the rhythm, something that looks less like preparation and more like battle. Mary tries to help, but Martha's standards are impossible to meet. The vegetables aren't chopped evenly. The cushions aren't arranged properly. The courtyard stones, though swept, somehow aren't clean enough. Finally, Mary gives up and sits on the low wall outside the house, watching the road that leads from Jerusalem. "Are you going to help or just sit there?" Martha snaps as she rushes past with an armload of linens. Mary doesn't take the bait. "Martha, he doesn't care about the linens." "Well, I do." "Why?" The question stops Martha mid-stride. She turns, linens clutched to her chest. "What do you mean? Why? Why does it matter so much? Why do you need everything to be perfect?" Martha's jaw clenches. "Because it does. Because—" She struggles to articulate something she's never examined. "Because if we don't do things right, if we don't appear strong and capable, then people will see us as weak, and weak families don't survive." "He's not people, Martha. He's—" "I don't have time for this." Martha turns away, disappearing back into the house. Mary watches her go, a sadness settling over her features that makes her look older than her years. Midday comes. The heat presses down like a hand. Martha has been working for 6 hours straight without stopping to eat or drink. The bread is baking. The meal is nearly ready. Everything is almost perfect, but almost isn't enough. She finds a dozen more things that need doing: oil lamps to refill, water jars to check, herbs to gather for the meal. Lazarus appears in the doorway, breathless. "Martha, they're coming. I can see them on the road." Her heart lurches. "How many?" "I count 15, maybe more." "Are the cushions arranged?" "Yes." "The bread? Almost ready." Martha." He grabs her shoulders gently, forcing her to look at him. "It's going to be fine. Everything is ready. You've done enough." But she hasn't. She knows she hasn't. There's always something more, something she's forgotten, something that will reveal the cracks in the facade. She pulls away from Lazarus and returns to the kitchen, stirring a pot that doesn't need stirring, checking bread that isn't ready. Her hands moving constantly because if they stop, if she stops, everything will fall apart. She hears voices outside, deep male voices, tired from travel, laughter, the shuffle of sandals on stone. Her pulse quickens. Through the kitchen doorway, she catches glimpses, dusty robes, weathered faces, men settling into the courtyard like they belong there, and then a voice that cuts through the rest. "Peace be upon this house." Martha's hands still. The voice is ordinary, no thunder, no commanding boom, but there's something in it that makes her breath catch. A warmth, an authority that doesn't demand, but simply is. She edges to the doorway, staying in the shadows, and looks. He's smaller than she expected, younger too, maybe early 30s. His face lined by sun and travel, but his eyes are what stop her. They're kind. No, more than kind. They're knowing, like he sees through the dust and exhaustion to something deeper, something true. Mary has already moved to sit near him, not right at his feet, that would be too bold, but close enough to hear clearly. Lazarus sits beside her, leaning forward with the eagerness of a student who's finally found a teacher worth learning from. The disciples settle around them, some sitting, some reclining, all of them relaxing into the shade of the courtyard like flowers turning toward the sun. And Jesus begins to teach. Martha strains to hear from the kitchen. His words drift in like smoke, fragmentary but piercing. The kingdom of God is not a burden to carry, but a gift to receive. You cannot earn what is freely given. The Father knows what you need before you ask. Her hand stops stirring. A gift to receive. The words lodge in her chest like a splinter. What does that even mean? Everything in life has to be earned, worked for, fought for. Nothing is free, nothing is given. You survive by your own strength or you don't survive at all. But the way he says it, there's a certainty in his voice that makes her want to believe it could be true. The bread, she smells it a second before it starts to burn. She lunges for the oven, pulling out the loaves just in time. One is too dark on the bottom, imperfect, ruined. She stares at it, and to her horror, tears sting her eyes. It's just bread. It's just one loaf, but somehow it feels like everything, all her effort, all her striving, and it's still not enough. She blinks the tears away furiously. There's no time for this. She arranges the bread on a platter, adds oil and salt, and carries it to the courtyard. The teaching pauses as she enters. Every eye turns to her. She feels the weight of their attention, the exposure of it, and she wants to flee. But she forces herself forward, setting the platter down with hands that are steadier than she feels. Jesus looks up at her. Their eyes meet. For just a moment, a heartbeat, less. She feels seen in a way that terrifies her, not judged, not evaluated, just seen, like he knows exactly who she is beneath the competence and the control, and he's not afraid of it. "Thank you," he says simply. She nods, can't speak, and retreats to the kitchen. Her heart is pounding. Her hands are shaking. What was that moment, that look? It felt like standing naked in sunlight, vulnerable and exposed and somehow impossibly safe. She leans against the wall, breathing hard. From the courtyard, she hears him laugh, warm, genuine, unhurried. And then Mary laughs too, bright and free, the sound of someone who's forgotten to be afraid. Martha's jaw clenches. She should be out there. She's the oldest. She's the head of this household, for all practical purposes, but there's still so much to do. The meal isn't ready, the wine needs pouring. The disciples will be hungry soon, and hungry men are impatient men. She returns to her work with renewed intensity, but now there's an edge to it, an anger she doesn't fully understand. She can hear the teaching continuing, can hear Mary asking questions, can hear the gentle way he answers, never condescending, always patient, like her questions matter, like she matters. When was the last time someone made Martha feel like she mattered? Not for what she could do or provide, but just for being herself. The thought is dangerous. She pushes it away. More neighbors arrive, drawn by word that the teacher from Nazareth is in Bethany. The courtyard fills. Martha brings out more bread, more oil, water for washing. Each trip through the courtyard, she catches fragments of his teaching. Consider the lilies. They neither toil nor spin. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Neither toil nor spin. Martha wants to laugh bitterly. Must be nice, being a lily. Must be nice not having responsibilities, not having a household depending on you, not having debts and expectations, and the weight of survival pressing down on your shoulders every waking moment. She's carrying a heavy water jar when Lazarus tries to take it from her. "Martha, let me help. You're in my way." The words come out sharper than she intends. He steps back, hurt flashing across his face, and she immediately regrets it, but there's no time to apologize. The jar is heavy. Her arms are aching. She pushes past him. The jar slips. Not much, just a slight loss of grip. But it's enough. The jar tilts, water sloshing, and she overcorrects. It crashes to the ground, shattering into a dozen pieces. Water spreads across the courtyard floor, pooling around the broken clay. The teaching stops. Everyone looks. Martha stands frozen, staring at the destruction at her feet, at the water seeping into the cracks between the stones. Her hands are bleeding, tiny cuts from catching the jar, from the sharp edges of clay. She doesn't feel them. All she feels is the failure, the imperfection, the visible, undeniable proof that she cannot do this, cannot hold everything together, cannot be enough no matter how hard she tries. Lazarus moves to help her, but she waves him off. Mary stands, concern on her face, but Martha won't meet her eyes. She kneels and begins picking up the pieces, her bleeding hands staining the broken clay. No one speaks. The silence is suffocating. And then, from across the courtyard, Jesus' voice, quiet, gentle. "Martha." She doesn't look up. Can't look up. If she does, if she meets those eyes that see too much, she will shatter worse than the jar. "Leave it," he says. "Come, sit." The invitation hangs in the air like an outstretched hand. Martha's throat closes. Her hands still on the broken pieces. Every instinct screams at her to refuse, to clean up this mess, to prove she's still capable, still strong, still in control. But she's so tired. God, she's so tired. She stands slowly, leaving the broken clay on the ground. Her hands drip water and blood. She walks to the edge of the courtyard, not quite entering the circle, not quite leaving it. She can't sit at his feet like Mary, can't surrender that completely. But she doesn't return to the kitchen either. She stands there, caught between two worlds, her heart hammering in her chest, waiting to see what he'll do next. Jesus doesn't press her. He simply nods, as if her standing at the edge is enough, as if her presence, fractured and reluctant as it is exactly what he hoped for. Then he continues teaching, his voice resuming its steady, unhurried rhythm. Martha remains frozen at the threshold. She can hear every word now, no longer filtered through kitchen walls and the clatter of preparation. He's talking about worry, about anxiety, about the way fear carves furrows into the soul deeper than any plow cuts earth. "Who among you by worrying can add a single hour to your life?" he asks, and though he's addressing the whole group, Martha feels the question land directly on her chest. And if you cannot do even this small thing, why do you worry about the rest? Because someone has to, she thinks, because if I don't worry, who will? But she doesn't say it aloud. More people arrive as the afternoon wears on. Word travels fast in a village this size. The teacher is in Bethany, at the house of Lazarus and his sisters. The courtyard becomes crowded, bodies pressed close, the air thick with breath and sweat and anticipation. Disciples, neighbors, strangers from Jerusalem, they fill every available space. And Martha realizes with dawning horror that she hasn't prepared enough food. The panic hits her like a fist. She's been standing here listening while the afternoon has slipped away, while more and more mouths have arrived to feed, and she has nothing ready. The bread is gone. The meal she prepared was for 15, maybe 20. Now there are 30, 40 people crowding into her courtyard, and she has failed them. She turns to slip back into the kitchen, but the crowd has closed in behind her. She's trapped between bodies, between the doorway and the teaching circle, unable to move forward or back. Her breathing quickens. The walls seem to press inward, "Martha." It's Lazarus, appearing beside her, his hand on her elbow. "What's wrong?" "There's not enough food," she hisses. "There are too many people. I didn't prepare. I can't." "It's all right." "It's not all right." Her voice comes out louder than she intends. A few heads turn. She lowers her voice to an urgent whisper. "Lazarus, they'll expect to be fed. We'll be humiliated. They'll see that we're not, that I'm not." "No one expects anything, Martha. They came to hear him, not to eat." "But that can't be true. It can't. Hospitality is sacred. A household that cannot provide is a household that has failed." Her father taught her that. Her whole life has been built on that principle. You take care of people, you provide, you prove your worth through what you can give. She needs to get to the kitchen. She needs to salvage this. There must be something. Dried fish, olives, anything. She pushes through the crowd, murmuring apologies, her face burning with shame. Behind her, she hears Jesus continuing to teach, his voice calm and steady, while her world spins into chaos. In the kitchen, she moves with frantic energy. She finds a small store of dried fish, some olives, a little cheese. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough, but it's all she has. She arranges it on a platter with shaking hands. And that's when she notices the blood. Her hands are still bleeding from the broken jar, leaving smears of red on the food, on the platter, on everything she touches. She grabs a cloth and wraps her palms roughly, wincing at the sting. The cloth immediately darkens with blood. She stares at her wrapped hands, and something inside her cracks. Just a little. Just enough to let in a sliver of truth. This is impossible. She cannot do this. She cannot hold together a household, manage a crowd, serve a teacher and his followers, all while maintaining the facade that everything is fine, everything is under control, everything is perfect. The platter blurs. She blinks hard, forcing back tears. Not now. Not when there's still work to do. She lifts the platter, inadequate, insufficient, a visible manifestation of her failure, and carries it to the courtyard. But when she gets there, she finds that no one is asking for food. They're too absorbed in the teaching. Jesus is telling a story about a father and two sons, about inheritance squandered and grace undeserved. And people are leaning forward, hanging on every word. Some are weeping, some are smiling. Mary sits at his feet now, fully, unashamedly, her face tilted up like a flower toward light. Martha sets the platter down. No one notices. No one reaches for it. She stands there holding her bleeding hands, wrapped in stained cloth, watching her sister receive what she cannot seem to grasp. And the anger comes. It rises from somewhere deep, somewhere she didn't know existed, hot and bitter and laced with something that tastes like betrayal. Mary sits while Martha serves. Mary receives while Martha provides. Mary gets to be the beloved disciple while Martha plays the servant, the caretaker, the one who makes everything possible and gets none of the credit. It's not fair, it's not right. And she's been swallowing this resentment for years, not just today, not just with Jesus, but with her father, with Lazarus, with every neighbor who praised Mary's gentle spirit while taking for granted Martha's tireless work. Jesus finishes the story. There's a long silence, the kind that settles over a crowd when truth has been spoken and no one quite knows what to do with it. Then someone asks a question and the teaching continues. And Mary doesn't move, doesn't offer to help, doesn't even glance toward the kitchen to see if Martha needs her. Martha's jaw clenches so hard it aches. Her vision narrows. The wrapped cloth on her hands throbs with each heartbeat, and the throbbing feels like a drumbeat, like a march, like a call to battle. She's done this for years, carried the weight, sacrificed her own needs, worked until her hands bled, literally bled, to keep this household afloat. And now, when her honored guest is in their home, Mary sits like a queen while Martha runs herself ragged. She moves through the crowd again, back toward the teaching circle. People shift to let her pass. Her eyes are locked on Mary, beautiful, peaceful, unburdened Mary, who hasn't lifted a finger all day. Martha reaches the inner circle. She's standing right at the edge now, just behind Jesus, close enough to touch his shoulder if she reached out. Her breathing is ragged, her hands throb, and she can't hold it in anymore. Lord, the word comes out harder than she intended. Jesus pauses mid-sentence and turns. His eyes meet hers, and in them she sees, what? Surprise, concern, something else she can't name. Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone? The words hang in the air like an accusation. The crowd goes silent. Every eye turns to Martha, dusty, disheveled, bleeding Martha with her wrapped hands and her wild eyes and her voice full of barely controlled fury. Tell her to help me. The silence deepens. Martha's heart pounds so hard she can hear it in her ears. She's said it. She's spoken the resentment aloud, made the invisible visible, dragged the family dysfunction into the light in front of 30 witnesses. But she doesn't care. She can't care. Because if someone doesn't acknowledge what she's sacrificed, what she's given, what it's cost her, she thinks she might actually die from the weight of it. Jesus doesn't answer immediately. He looks at her, really looks at her, and for a long moment his face is sad, not angry, not offended, just sad, like he's seeing something in her that breaks his heart. Then he says her name twice. Martha, Martha. It's the way her father used to say it when she was small and had worked herself into a state over something that didn't matter as much as she thought it did. Gentle, loving, but with a hint of what? Correction, invitation, both. You are worried and upset about many things. The words land like stones, each one heavy with truth. She is worried, she is upset, about so many things, debts, food, survival, appearances, proving herself, earning worth, holding everything together with her bleeding, insufficient hands. But only one thing is needed. Her breath catches. One thing. One. After everything she's done, everything she's sacrificed, everything she's carried, it's all reduced to many things, as if they're distractions, as if they don't matter. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. The words hit like a slap. Martha's face burns. Chosen. Better. Mary has chosen the better thing, which means Martha has chosen what? The worse thing, the wrong thing. She's been working herself to death, bleeding, literally bleeding, to serve him, to honor him, to provide for him, and she's chosen wrong. The crowd is staring. She can feel their eyes on her, pitying, judging, witnessing her humiliation. Her throat closes. Her eyes sting. She wants to defend herself, to explain, to make him understand that someone has to do the work, someone has to be responsible, someone has to care about the practical things that keep life from falling apart. But no words come. Her voice has abandoned her. All that comes out is a small, strangled sound that might be the beginning of a sob. She turns and runs, not walks, runs, through the crowd, past the neighbors, past the disciples who part like water to let her flee. She runs to the kitchen and then past it, to her small sleeping room at the back of the house, and she collapses against the wall, sliding down until she's sitting on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest, her wrapped hands pressed against her mouth to muffle the sounds trying to escape. He corrected her in front of everyone. The teacher that Lazarus and Mary have been glowing about, the one who supposedly sees people and loves them. He looked at her and told her she chose wrong, that Mary's passivity is better than her service, that everything she's done today, everything she does every day, is just worry, upset, many things that don't matter. The tears come now, hot and angry and laced with something that feels like grief. She's been trying so hard, for so long, and it's not enough. It's never enough. She's not enough. Through the wall, Muffled but audible, she can hear the teaching resume, Jesus' voice, calm and steady, like nothing happened, like he didn't just publicly shame the woman who's been working all day to serve him. The unfairness of it chokes her. She looks down at her hands, still wrapped in blood-stained cloth, still throbbing. She unwraps them slowly, wincing as the fabric sticks to the cuts. The wounds are shallow but numerous, little slices across her palms and fingers from the broken jar. She stares at them, at the physical evidence of her effort, her sacrifice, and she thinks, I'm doing it all for you. Can't you see that? I'm giving everything I have, my time, my strength, my blood. What more do you want from me? But even as she thinks it, a quieter voice whispers underneath, are you doing it for him? Or are you doing it to prove something? To earn something, to keep from having to face the one thing you're actually afraid of? She doesn't want to answer that question. She wraps her hands again, this time more carefully, and leans her head back against the wall. From the courtyard, she hears laughter, warm, genuine. Mary's voice, asking another question. Jesus' voice, answering with patience and warmth. And Martha sits alone in the dark, her hands throbbing, her heart breaking, wondering how serving became sin and stillness became virtue, and why the thing she's best at is suddenly, impossibly, wrong. Martha doesn't know how long she sits there. Time becomes strange in the darkness of her room. Could be minutes, could be hours. The sounds from the courtyard continue, rise and fall like waves. Laughter, questions, the low murmur of conversation. The teaching goes on without her. The world continues spinning, and she is not necessary to any of it. The realization should hurt more than it does. Instead, it feels oddly hollow, like discovering a room you thought was full has been empty all along. Eventually, the light filtering through the small window shifts from gold to amber to deep orange. Sunset approaches. Martha's body aches from sitting on the floor, her back against the wall, but she can't seem to make herself move. Her hands have stopped bleeding, but they throb with a dull, persistent pain that almost feels comforting in its constancy. At least this pain makes sense. At least she knows where it came from. She hears footsteps approaching, light, hesitant. Mary appears in the doorway, silhouetted against the fading light. Martha. Martha doesn't answer, doesn't look up. Mary steps into the room, settles onto the floor beside her sister. For a long moment, neither speaks. The silence between them is crowded with everything unsaid. Years of resentment, love, misunderstanding, the desperate attempts of two sisters trying to survive the same loss in completely different ways. I'm sorry, Mary says finally. For what? Martha's voice comes out flat, scraped raw. For not helping today. You were right. I should have... Don't! Martha cuts her off. Don't apologize for being the good one, for choosing better. That's what he said, isn't it? You chose better. Mary is quiet for a moment, then, that's not what he meant, wasn't it? Now Martha does look at her, and Mary flinches at the rawness in her sister's eyes. He said, you chose what was better, that it wouldn't be taken from you. That sounds pretty clear to me. Martha, he wasn't saying your work doesn't matter. Then what was he saying? The question comes out sharper than Martha intends, edged with genuine confusion and hurt. Because from where I'm sitting, it sounded like he was saying that everything I've been doing, everything I've always done, is just worry, just upset, just nothing. Mary reaches for Martha's wrapped hands, and this time, Martha lets her. Mary holds them gently, carefully, her thumbs tracing the edges of the bandages. He sees you, Mary says softly. He sees how hard you work, how much you carry. He's not blind to it, Martha. But I think... She struggles for words. I think he's sad that you feel like you have to carry it all alone. Someone has to. But what if someone doesn't? What if you let it fall? Then everything falls apart. Martha says it like it's obvious, like it's the most fundamental truth of the universe. Mary shakes her head. Or maybe something new grows in its place. Before Martha can respond, Lazarus appears in the doorway. His face is troubled, uncertain. Martha, he's asking for you. Martha's stomach drops. Tell him I'm not feeling well. I tried. He said he'd wait. Lazarus, please, Martha. There's something in her brother's voice, a gentleness that makes her throat tight. Please, just talk to him. Martha closes her eyes. Every instinct screams at her to refuse, to hide, to protect what little dignity she has left. But underneath the fear and the hurt, there's something else. A tiny, traitorous spark of curiosity. What could he possibly want to say to her? Another correction. Another reminder that she's doing everything wrong. She stands slowly, her body protesting after sitting on the floor for so long. Mary stands with her, still holding her hands. Do you want me to come with you? Mary asks. Martha almost says yes, almost. But something makes her shake her head. No, I need to do this alone. She follows Lazarus back through the house. Most of the crowd has dispersed. It's nearly dark, and people need to return to their own homes. A few disciples remain in the courtyard, talking quietly among themselves, and Jesus sits near the small olive tree in the corner, alone, waiting. Lazarus squeezes Martha's shoulder, then retreats, leaving her standing at the edge of the courtyard. Jesus looks up and sees her. He doesn't smile, doesn't beckon. He just watches, patient, like he has all the time in the world. Martha's feet feel rooted to the ground. She can't do this, can't face him, can't endure another moment of being seen so completely, of having her defenses stripped away until there's nothing left but the terrified, exhausted woman underneath. But her feet move anyway, one step, then another. She crosses the courtyard slowly, and with each step she feels something inside her beginning to crack, not breaking, not yet, but developing fissures, hairline fractures in the armor she's worn for so long. She stops a few feet away from him, close enough to speak, but far enough to maintain some illusion of safety. Jesus gestures to the ground beside him, an invitation, not a command. Martha hesitates, then slowly, so slowly, lowers herself to sit. Not at his feet like Mary. Beside him, close but not surrendered. For a long moment neither speaks. The silence should be uncomfortable, but it's not. It's patient, waiting, like the silence before dawn. Finally, Jesus speaks. You're tired, aren't you? The question is so simple, so direct, that Martha doesn't have time to construct a defense. Yes, she whispers. How long have you been carrying this weight? She doesn't have to ask what weight he means. Since my father died, 3 years. And before that, the question surprises her. What? How long have you been trying to earn your worth through what you do? The words hit like an arrow finding its mark. Martha's breath catches. She wants to deny it, to insist that's not what she's doing, but the truth lodges in her throat and won't let the lie pass. I don't know, she finally says. Always. Maybe. Since I was old enough to understand that people valued what I could do for them more than just me. Jesus nods slowly, like this is exactly what he expected to hear. Martha, when I said you were worried and upset about many things, I wasn't diminishing your work. I was grieving that you feel like your work is the only thing that makes you valuable. The tears come before she can stop them. Silent, hot, streaming down her face in the growing darkness. She doesn't wipe them away. Your service matters, Jesus continues, his voice gentle but firm. Your provision, your care, your tireless work, it all matters, but it matters because it flows from who you are, not because it earns you the right to be loved. I don't understand, Martha chokes out. Mary isn't better than you. She's chosen to receive before she gives, to be loved before she serves, and that's what I want for you too. not instead of your service, but as the foundation for it. Martha shakes her head. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to just sit, how to receive, how to stop working long enough to... Her voice breaks. I know, and there's such compassion in his voice that it hurts. You've been strong for so long. You've carried so much, and you think if you stop, even for a moment, everything will collapse. But Martha, he pauses, making sure she's listening. What if I told you that I'm not asking you to stop working? I'm asking you to stop working alone. She looks at him, really looks at him for the first time since the correction. His face is lined with exhaustion. He's been teaching all day, pouring himself out for crowds who want more and more and more. He understands tired. He knows what it's like to give until there's nothing left. But there's something in his eyes that's different from hers. A peace, a settledness, like he's drawing from a well that never runs dry. How, she whispers, how do you do it? How do you give so much and not break? Jesus smiles, small, knowing, because I know whose I am. I know my Father loves me not for what I do, but because I'm his, and I do the work he gives me, not to earn his love, but because I already have it. The words settle over Martha like a blanket. She thinks of her father's last question, who carries you? And she realizes, with startling clarity, that she's been trying to carry herself, to be her own savior, to prove she doesn't need carrying. I'm scared, she admits, the words barely audible. Of what? That if I stop trying so hard, if I let go, I'll discover I'm not actually as strong as I thought, that I'm just... She struggles. That I'm just broken, just tired, just not enough. Jesus is quiet for a moment. Then he does something unexpected. He takes her wrapped hands in his, gently, carefully, mindful of the wounds underneath the cloth. Martha, he says, and his voice is thick with emotion. You are not broken, you're human, and being human means you were never meant to carry everything alone. It means you need help, need rest, need to be carried sometimes, and that doesn't make you weak. It makes you mine. The tears come harder now. Martha's shoulders shake with the force of them. Years of held-back grief, exhaustion, fear, all pouring out in the gathering darkness. And Jesus just sits there, holding her wounded hands, letting her fall apart without trying to fix her or rush her or tell her to pull herself together. When the crying finally subsides, Martha feels hollowed out, empty, but not in a bad way. More like a jar that's been poured out so it can be filled with something new. And I don't know how to change, she says, her voice hoarse. I don't know how to be different. You don't have to change who you are, Jesus says. You just have to let me into the work with you. Let me carry the weight that's too heavy for you. Let me love you even when you're not doing anything useful. A laugh escapes Martha, wet, surprised. I don't think I've ever done nothing useful in my life. I know. That's why I'm here. He releases her hands and stands, offering her his hand to help her up. She takes it, lets him pull her to her feet. They stand there in the courtyard, and Martha realizes the disciples have quietly disappeared, giving them privacy. It's just the two of them now, and the stars beginning to appear overhead. Will you stay? Martha asks. Tonight, you and your followers. It's late to travel. Jesus smiles. If you're inviting us. I am, but... She hesitates. I'm not preparing a feast. I'm not going to run myself ragged. I'm just going to do what I can and let that be enough. That sounds perfect. They walk back toward the house together, and Martha feels something she hasn't felt in years. Not peace exactly, not yet, but the possibility of it. The first, fragile beginning. Inside, Mary and Lazarus are waiting, their faces anxious. When they see Martha, tear-stained but somehow lighter, they both exhale with relief. Martha moves to the simple meal she prepared earlier, the one she thought wasn't enough. She sets it out, and Jesus and the few remaining disciples gather around. There's not much, but somehow it's sufficient, more than sufficient. As they eat, Jesus tells stories, gentle ones tonight, about seeds and bread and things that grow slowly in darkness before they break into light. Martha listens while she serves, but this time the serving feels different. Not frantic, not desperate, just what it is, an offering, a gift. And when Mary asks a question and Martha realizes she wants to hear the answer, she actually stops, sets down the water jar, and sits. Jesus' eyes find hers across the small circle. He doesn't say anything, just nods, a tiny acknowledgement that she's taken the first terrifying step. Martha sits through the rest of the teaching, her wrapped hands folded in her lap, her heart still racing, but her body finally still. And for the first time in longer than she can remember, she doesn't feel the crushing weight of everything that needs doing. She feels instead, like maybe, just maybe, she might be exactly where she needs to be. The days that follow are strange, disorienting, like learning to walk with a limp after years of running. Jesus and his disciples stay in Bethany for 3 more days. Martha expected them to leave the next morning, but Jesus says simply, "The Father has more for us here." And that settles it. They stay, and Martha has to figure out how to be herself, the provider, the caretaker, the one who holds everything together, while also learning this new terrifying thing, stopping, receiving, letting the work be enough without killing herself to make it perfect. It's harder than she expected. The first morning, she wakes before dawn out of habit and begins preparing breakfast for 15 men. Halfway through kneading the bread, she realizes she's doing it again, running, striving, trying to prove something. She forces herself to stop, to sit, to wait until the sun actually rises before she begins. It feels wrong. Every muscle in her body screams at her to get up, to do something, to be useful. But she stays sitting, her wrapped hands folded in her lap, watching the darkness slowly give way to light. Mary finds her there. "Are you all right?" "I don't know," Martha admits. "I'm trying to not try so hard." Mary sits beside her. "That might be the most Martha thing I've ever heard." Despite everything, Martha laughs. It's a small sound, rusty from disuse, but real. Jesus spends the days teaching, sometimes in their courtyard, sometimes walking through Bethany, sometimes sitting under the olive trees with just the disciples. Martha tries to listen when she can, tries to sit like Mary does, absorbing every word. But it's difficult. Her mind wanders to the tasks that need doing, the bread that needs baking, the water jars that need filling. On the second day, she's sitting at the edge of the teaching circle, trying to focus, when she realizes the bread in the oven is burning. She can smell it. She stands to go rescue it, and Jesus pauses mid-sentence. "Martha." She freezes. "The bread," he asks gently. "It's burning, and you need to save it." "Yes," he nods. "Then go, save it, but come back." It's such a simple thing. Permission to do what needs doing without the expectation that she'll disappear into the work and never return. Permission to be both, the one who serves and the one who sits. She rescues the bread, only slightly scorched this time, and she comes back, sits down, keeps listening. It's on the third day that everything shifts. Lazarus wakes with a fever. It's mild at first, just a slight warmth to his skin, a tiredness in his eyes. But by midday, he's burning, shaking, soaked in sweat. Martha's training kicks in immediately. She moves into crisis mode, cool cloths, water, herbs that might bring the fever down. Mary hovers anxiously, wringing her hands, and Martha falls back into the old pattern: control, manage, fix. But this time, she's aware of it. She can feel herself reaching for the familiar armor of competence, of being the one who handles everything. And underneath it, she can feel the terror. What if I can't fix this? What if I lose him too? Jesus appears in the doorway. He doesn't say anything, just watches Martha work with an expression that's hard to read. He needs rest, Martha says without looking up. The fever should break by tonight. And if it doesn't? The question stops her hands mid-motion. She looks at Jesus, and something in his face tells her he's not asking about medicine. I don't know, she whispers. But will you let me help? Every instinct screams at her to say no, to handle it herself, to prove she's capable. But she's so tired, and Lazarus is getting worse, and she can't do this alone anymore. Yes, she says, please. Jesus moves to Lazarus's side. He places a hand on the young man's forehead, gentle, unhurried. He doesn't speak a dramatic prayer or command the fever to leave. He just stays there, present, solid, like an anchor in a storm. Martha watches, her throat tight. Mary comes to stand beside her, takes her hand. They wait together, hours pass. The fever doesn't break. If anything, it gets worse. Lazarus begins to convulse, his body racked with tremors. Martha tries to intervene, but Jesus shakes his head. Wait, he says quietly. He's getting worse. I know, wait. It's torture. Every healer's instinct, Martha, has demands action. Do something, try something, don't just sit here while he suffers. But Jesus's eyes hold her in place, and something in them says, trust me. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it looks like everything is falling apart, night falls. The fever continues. Lazarus is barely conscious now, his breathing shallow. Neighbors come, offering advice, herbs, prayers. Martha sends them away. The house feels smaller, the air thicker, like the walls are pressing in. Mary is crying quietly in the corner. Martha sits beside Lazarus's bed, her wrapped hands clutching the blanket, her jaw clenched so tightly it aches. And Jesus sits on the other side, his hand still resting on Lazarus's chest, his eyes closed. Why aren't you doing anything? Martha finally asks, her voice breaking. You healed people in Capernaum. You made the blind see. Why won't you heal him? Jesus opens his eyes, because some things require a different kind of healing. I don't understand. I know. The night stretches on, endless and suffocating. Martha doesn't sleep, doesn't eat. She just sits there, watching her brother burn with fever, watching Jesus do apparently nothing, feeling every ounce of control slip through her fingers like sand. This is what she's been afraid of her whole life. This moment, this helplessness, this absolute inability to fix things through sheer force of will and tireless work. Everything she's built, all her competence, all her strength, all her careful management, means nothing in the face of this. She thinks of her father's death, how she worked through it instead of feeling it, how she threw herself into holding the family together, because if she stopped moving, she'd have to face the grief. And she realizes she's been running for 3 years, running from loss, running from fear, running from the terrifying truth that she cannot control everything, cannot prevent every tragedy, cannot save everyone she loves through the sheer force of her effort. And now she's reached the end of the running. There's nowhere left to go, nothing left to do but sit in this unbearable moment and let it break her. I can't do this, she whispers. I know, Jesus says again. And that's why I'm here. Just before dawn, when Martha is slouched against the wall, her eyes burning with exhaustion, her heart numb with fear, Jesus speaks. Martha, she looks up. Watch. He leans forward, his hand still on Lazarus's chest, and he whispers something so quietly Martha can't hear the words, but she sees the result. Lazarus's breathing deepens. The tremors stop. The terrible heat begins to drain from his skin, replaced by something that looks more like sleep than unconsciousness. Martha stares. What did you... Rest, Jesus says, and she realizes he's talking to her as much as to Lazarus. Both of you, rest. By midday, Lazarus wakes. The fever is gone. His eyes are clear. He's weak, pale, but alive. Mary throws herself at him, sobbing with relief, and Martha just sits there, too exhausted to move, too overwhelmed to cry. Jesus finds her in the courtyard an hour later. She's sitting by the well, staring at nothing, her mind blank. "He's all right," Jesus says, settling beside her. "I know." "You're angry." She looks at him, surprised. "No, I'm—" But she stops, because yes, she is angry, furious, in fact. "Why did you wait so long? Why did you let him get so sick? Why didn't you just heal him immediately? Because you needed to reach the end of yourself." The words are gentle, but unyielding. Martha's hands clench into fists. That's cruel. It's mercy. How is watching me fall apart mercy? Because you've been falling apart for years, Martha. You've just been too busy to notice. And if you'd never stopped, never reached the end of your strength, you'd have kept running until you killed yourself. She wants to argue, wants to defend herself, but she can't, because he's right. She's been dying by inches, death by service, death by striving, death by the belief that she has to hold everything together alone. "I don't know how to live any other way," she says, her voice small. "I know. That's why I'm teaching you." He stands and offers her his hand. She stares at it for a long moment. This offered help, this invitation to stop carrying everything alone. Every part of her wants to refuse, to insist she can stand on her own, but she's so tired. She takes his hand, lets him pull her to her feet, and something in her chest, something that's been clenched tight for 3 years, begins just barely to loosen. That evening, Jesus announces he and the disciples will leave the next morning. Martha expects to feel relief. The household can return to normal. She can stop this exhausting work of learning to rest. But instead, she feels something like panic. "Will you come back?" she asks. Jesus smiles. "Always, whenever you need me. How will I know when I need you? You'll know." And Martha, he waits until she meets his eyes. "You've already started the hardest part. You've admitted you can't do this alone. Everything after that is just practice." That night, Martha lies on her sleeping mat, her body aching with exhaustion, but her mind strangely quiet. She thinks about the past few days, about sitting at the teaching, about rescuing the bread and coming back, about sitting helplessly by Lazarus's bed while Jesus worked in ways she couldn't see or understand, and she realizes she's still here. She didn't collapse. The world didn't end. She let herself be weak, let herself need help, let herself admit she couldn't fix everything, and somehow, impossibly, it was okay. More than okay. It was freeing. She closes her eyes and, for the first time in 3 years, sleeps deeply, without nightmares, without waking every few hours in a panic about something that needs doing. She sleeps like someone who's finally learning what it means to rest. 6 months pass. Winter comes to Judea, cold and wet, turning the roads to mud. Martha's life settles into a new rhythm, not perfect, not without struggle, but different, changed. She still works hard, still manages the household, still bakes bread before dawn and hauls water from the well. But now, some mornings she stops, sits, watches the sun rise before she begins. It's not natural yet, not easy. Every time she stops, every time she rests, there's a voice in her head screaming that she's being lazy, irresponsible, weak. But there's another voice now too, quieter but growing stronger. You are loved, not for what you do, for who you are. Jesus comes and goes. Sometimes he's in Jerusalem teaching in the temple courts. Sometimes he's in Galilee with the disciples. But he always returns to Bethany, to their small house. And every time he comes, Martha finds herself sitting a little longer, working a little less frantically, breathing a little easier. Mary notices the change. "You seem different," she says one evening as they prepare dinner together. "Different how?" "Lighter, like you're not carrying the whole world anymore." Martha pauses, a knife suspended over an onion. "I'm trying. It's hard." "I know. But Martha..." Mary reaches over and squeezes her hand. "I'm proud of you." The words hit Martha unexpectedly. When was the last time someone said they were proud of her? Not grateful for what she did, but proud of who she was. Her throat tightens. She squeezes Mary's hand back, unable to speak. Lazarus has been different too since the fever, quieter, more thoughtful. He spends hours talking with Jesus when the teacher visits, asking questions about the kingdom, about God, about what it means to truly live. Martha sometimes listens from the kitchen doorway, half working and half learning, finding a balance she never knew existed. It's late winter when the message comes. Martha is at the well, drawing water in the grey pre-dawn light, when a man she doesn't recognize approaches. He's dusty, exhausted, his clothes torn, someone who's been traveling fast and hard. "Are you Martha, sister of Lazarus?" Her stomach drops. "Yes, I have a message." From the teacher, her hands tighten on the water jar. What's happened? He's in Bethabara, beyond the Jordan. The authorities, the Pharisees and temple leaders, they've declared him a blasphemer. There's talk of arresting him, possibly worse. The messenger's voice drops. "He wanted you to know he may not be able to return for some time. It's not safe." The words land like stones. Martha nods slowly, her mind racing. Is he all right? For now. But his disciples are urging him to stay away from Jerusalem, away from Judea entirely. After the messenger leaves, Martha stands alone by the well as the sun rises, painting the sky in shades of fire and blood. She thinks about Jesus, his kindness, his teaching, the way he looked at her with eyes that saw everything and condemned nothing. And she thinks about the authorities, the powerful men who feel threatened by a carpenter from Nazareth who dares to speak about God with intimacy instead of fear. The thought of him in danger makes her chest tight. The weeks that follow are strange, tense. Rumors filter back from Jerusalem. Jesus is still teaching, still healing, still drawing crowds, but the opposition is growing. The Pharisees are setting traps. The chief priests are plotting. Everyone knows it's only a matter of time before something breaks. Martha tries to focus on her work, on the household, on the daily rhythms that have always anchored her. But there's a restlessness in her now, an awareness that the world is shifting in ways she can't control or predict. She finds herself praying, really praying, not just reciting memorized words, asking God to protect him, to keep him safe. And then, in early spring, Lazarus gets sick again. It starts the same way, a mild fever, some fatigue. Martha tries not to panic. It's probably nothing, probably just exhaustion. But by the second day, the fever is higher. By the third day, Lazarus can't get out of bed. Mary and Martha sit by his bedside, exchanging worried glances. This feels different from last time. Worse. Lazarus's skin is grey, his breathing laboured, and there's something in his eyes, a distance, a pulling away, that terrifies Martha more than the fever. "We need to send for him," Mary says on the fourth day. Martha's jaw tightens. "He's in danger, Mary, if he comes back." "I don't care. Lazarus is dying." The word hangs in the air like a blade. Dying. Martha wants to argue, to insist that's not true, that Lazarus will be fine, but she can see it too. Her brother is slipping away, and no amount of cool cloths or herbal remedies will stop it. "Send for him," Martha says finally, her voice hollow. They dispatch a messenger that afternoon. The message is simple. "Lord, the one you love is sick." And then they wait. 1 day passes. 2, 3. The fever rages. Lazarus grows weaker, Martha barely sleeps, barely eats. She sits by his bed, holding his hand, whispering encouragements she doesn't believe. Mary prays constantly, tears streaming down her face. On the fourth day, Lazarus looks at Martha with eyes that are suddenly terribly clear. "Martha," he whispers, "I'm here. I'm right here. Don't be afraid." The words are so soft, she almost misses them. "What? When I'm gone, don't be afraid. He's with you. You're not going anywhere," Martha says, her voice cracking. "He's coming. Jesus is coming and he'll heal you just like before." But even as she says it, she knows it's not true. Jesus isn't coming, or he's coming too late, and Lazarus is dying, right here, right now, slipping through her fingers no matter how tightly she holds on. "I love you," Lazarus whispers, his eyes close. "No," Martha breathes. "No, Lazarus, don't." His chest rises once more, falls, and doesn't rise again. The sound that comes from Mary is inhuman. She collapses across their brother's body, sobbing, and Martha just sits there, holding Lazarus's still warm hand, her mind blank with shock. He's gone. Lazarus, gentle, kind, hopeful Lazarus, is gone. And Jesus didn't come. The one who healed strangers, who raised other people's dead, who promised he'd always be there when they needed him. He didn't come. Martha doesn't cry, can't cry. She's too numb for tears. She stands slowly, mechanically, and begins doing what needs to be done, preparing the body, wrapping it in burial cloths, mixing the spices, myrrh and aloes, the smell of death and memory. Her hands move without thought, guided by grim necessity. Neighbors come. The traditional mourners arrive, professional weepers who wail and tear their garments. The house fills with noise, with grief, with the terrible machinery of death. And through it all, Martha works, prepares, manages, falls back into the old pattern because it's the only thing she knows how to do when the world is ending. They bury Lazarus in a tomb cut into the rock face outside the village. It takes 4 men to roll the stone across the entrance. The finality of that sound, stone grinding against stone, sealing her brother in darkness, breaks something in Martha's chest. But still, she doesn't cry, she can't. If she starts, she might never stop. The days after the burial blur together. The house is full of mourners, neighbors, friends, people from Jerusalem who heard about Lazarus. Mary weeps constantly, surrounded by consoling women, but Martha moves through it all like a ghost, hosting, serving, receiving condolences with wooden responses. Inside, she's screaming, "Where were you?" The question circles in her mind like a vulture. Where were you when he was dying, when we needed you? When we sent for you? We believed in you, we trusted you, and you let him die. 4 days after the burial, Martha is in the courtyard, trying to escape the crush of mourners, when a neighbor approaches. "Martha, someone just told me. Jesus is coming. He's on the road from Jericho." Martha's head snaps up. "What? He's almost here, maybe an hour away." The news hits her like a fist. He's coming, now. 4 days too late. 4 days after it matters. 4 days after he could have done something. The rage that's been building inside her for days finally finds its target. She doesn't tell Mary, doesn't tell anyone. She just starts walking, out of the courtyard, out of the village, onto the road that leads toward Jericho. Her feet move faster and faster until she's almost running, her breath coming hard, her vision narrowed to a single point. She sees him in the distance, a small group of men, dusty from travel. Jesus in the center, walking with that unhurried pace that once seemed peaceful and now feels like mockery, like he has all the time in the world while her brother rots in a tomb. "Lord!" The word rips out of her before she can stop it. Jesus stops, turns, sees her. His face shifts. Grief, compassion, something else she can't name. Martha closes the distance between them, and when she reaches him, the words pour out like poison. "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." Her voice shakes with barely controlled fury. The disciples exchange uncomfortable glances. But Jesus just stands there, taking the accusation, the pain, the betrayal in her words. "We sent for you," Martha continues, her voice rising. "4 days ago, we told you he was sick, that he was dying, and you," her voice breaks. "You didn't come. Martha, you could have saved him." She's shouting now, past caring who hears, past caring about propriety or respect. "You healed strangers, you raised other people from the dead, but when we needed you, when Lazarus, the one you loved, was dying, you stayed away. Why? Why didn't you come?" The silence that follows is absolute. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Jesus' eyes are bright with unshed tears, but he doesn't look away from her fury. "Your brother will rise again," he says quietly. Martha laughs, a bitter, broken sound. "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. I know the theology, the promises, the comfortable words people say at funerals. But that doesn't help me now. That doesn't bring him back. That doesn't explain why you..." Her voice catches. "Why you let him die when you could have stopped it." Jesus takes a step toward her. She wants to back away, to maintain her anger, but her feet won't move. "I am the resurrection and the life," he says, and his voice carries a weight that presses against her chest. "Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live, and everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die." He pauses, his eyes locked on hers. "Do you believe this?" The question cuts through everything, through her anger, her grief, her sense of betrayal. "Do you believe this? Not do you understand it, not do you like it, but do you believe it? Do you trust me even when I don't make sense? Even when I let you down? Even when I break your heart?" Martha stares at him, this man who saw her, who taught her to rest, who told her she was loved not for what she did, but for who she was. This man who promised to always be there and then wasn't. This man who is either the cruelest liar she's ever met or something she's still struggling to comprehend. "Yes, Lord," she hears herself say, and the words come from somewhere deeper than her anger. "I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who was to come into the world." The confession hangs in the air. She doesn't understand it. Doesn't understand how she can be furious with him and believe in him at the same time, but somehow, impossibly, both are true. Jesus' face softens. "Where have you laid him?" Martha's anger drains away, replaced by a weariness so deep it makes her bones ache. "Come and see." She turns and walks back toward the village, Jesus and the disciples following. Her mind is numb, her emotions spent. She has no idea what he's doing, why he's come now when it's too late. But she's past questioning, past fighting. She just leads him to the tomb. The walk back to Bethany feels longer than it should. Martha moves mechanically, one foot in front of the other, Jesus and the disciples following in silence behind her. She can feel the weight of his presence at her back, steady, unhurried, unbearable in its patience. When they reach the village, word spreads instantly. The mourners pour out of Martha's house, followed by Mary, who's been wondering where her sister disappeared to. Mary's eyes are swollen from days of weeping, her face pale and drawn. When she sees Jesus, something breaks in her. She runs to him and collapses at his feet, the position she's always taken, the place where she's most herself. "Lord," she sobs, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died." The same words Martha spoke. But where Martha's were edged with fury, Mary's are pure grief, accusations softened by sorrow. Martha watches Jesus' face as he looks down at Mary, weeping at his feet. And what she sees stops her breath. His face crumples, his eyes fill with tears. His whole body seems to shudder with the weight of their pain. He's weeping, not quiet, dignified tears, real weeping, the kind that shakes your shoulders and steals your breath. The creator of the universe, standing on a dusty road in Bethany, weeping over the death of a friend. Some of the mourners murmur, "See how he loved him." Others mutter, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying?" The same question Martha asked, the same question that has no answer, or at least no answer she can understand yet. Jesus wipes his eyes. His voice, when he speaks, is rough with emotion. "Oh, where have you laid him?" "Come and see, Lord," someone says. They walk together, Jesus, Martha, Mary, the disciples, and a crowd of mourners, through the village and out to the tomb. It's set in a hillside, a cave carved into limestone, the entrance sealed with a massive stone. Fresh flowers lie wilted at the base. The smell of death and spices hangs in the air. Jesus stands before the tomb for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then he says something that makes no sense. "Take away the stone." Silence. Everyone stares at him. Martha's mind struggles to process the words. "Lord," she says carefully, stepping forward. By this time there is an odor. He has been dead 4 days. It's the practical objection, the one that rises instinctively from her training, her knowledge, her desperate need for things to make sense. You don't open tombs after 4 days. You don't expose the living to the stench of decay. You don't. But Jesus turns to her, and his eyes hold hers with an intensity that makes her forget how to breathe. "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" When did he tell her that? She doesn't remember, but the words bypass her mind and sink straight into her chest, settling there with the weight of a promise. She looks at the tomb, at the stone, at the impossible thing he's asking. And she realizes, this is it. This is the moment. Everything she's learned over the past months about trust, about surrender, about letting go of control, it's all been leading here, to this choice, this leap. "Roll away the stone," she says to the men standing nearby. They hesitate, looking to her for confirmation. She nods. Slowly, with obvious reluctance, 4 men step forward and begin pushing against the massive stone. It resists at first, then gives way with a grinding sound that seems to echo across the valley. The stone rolls aside, and the mouth of the tomb opens like a wound. The smell hits immediately. Death, unmistakable. Several people cover their noses and step back. Martha forces herself to stand still, to not turn away, even as her stomach churns. Jesus steps closer to the tomb entrance. He lifts his eyes toward heaven, and when he speaks, his voice carries across the crowd. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. But I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." Martha doesn't understand the words, but she feels their power. It's like the air itself is listening, holding its breath. Then Jesus' voice changes, becomes louder, becomes a command that seems to shake the ground beneath their feet. "Lazarus, come out!" For a heartbeat, nothing happens. The world holds still. Martha's heart hammers so hard she can feel it in her throat. This is insanity. This is impossible. This is movement in the darkness of the tomb. Someone screams. Martha's not sure if it's her or Mary or one of the mourners, because there, in the entrance of the tomb, illuminated by afternoon sunlight, is a figure wrapped head to foot in burial cloths, moving, shuffling, alive. "Lazarus," Martha breathes. The figure stumbles forward, hampered by the grave clothes, and several men rush forward to help him. They begin unwrapping the cloths from his face, his hands, his body, and with each layer removed, Martha can see more clearly. It's him. It's actually him. Lazarus, his face pale, his eyes blinking against the sudden light, but alive, breathing, standing. The crowd erupts. Some people are shouting, some are weeping, some are backing away in fear, but Martha can't move, can't breathe, can't process what she's seeing. Lazarus, freed from the burial cloths, looks around in confusion. His eyes find Martha's sister. His voice, his actual voice, rough from disuse, bewildered but real. Martha's legs give out. She collapses to her knees, her hands pressed against the ground, her whole body shaking. This isn't possible. This can't be real. People don't come back from 4 days dead. They don't walk out of tombs. They don't... But he did. Mary reaches Lazarus first, throwing her arms around him, sobbing so hard she can barely stand. Lazarus holds her, looking over her shoulder at Jesus with an expression of wonder and terror and something else, something that looks like understanding. Martha forces herself to stand. Her legs are weak, but she makes them work. She walks toward her brother, slowly, afraid that if she moves too fast, he'll disappear. This will all dissolve like a dream. But when she reaches him, when her hands touch his arms, his shoulders, his face, he's solid, real, warm with life. "How?" she whispers. Lazarus just shakes his head. "I don't know. I was gone. And then he called my name and I..." He can't finish, doesn't have words for it. Martha turns to look at Jesus. He's standing apart from the crowd now, watching the reunion with a smile that's both joyful and sad. Their eyes meet across the space, and Martha understands, finally, fully understands what he was doing. He didn't stay away because he didn't care. He stayed away because this impossible, world-shattering miracle required death first, required the end of all human hope, all human effort, all human ability to fix things. Required Martha to reach the absolute limit of her control and find it utterly insufficient. He let Lazarus die so she could see what resurrection looks like. Martha walks toward Jesus. The crowd parts for her. When she reaches him, she doesn't know what to say. "Sorry, thank you, I don't understand. All of it. None of it." She just drops to her knees at his feet, the first time she's ever taken Mary's position, the first time she's surrendered this completely, and bows her head. Jesus places his hand on her hair, the gesture tender, paternal. "Now do you see?" he asks quietly. "I see that you're not who I thought you were," she whispers. "No, I thought you were a teacher, a healer, a good man." She looks up at him, tears streaming down her face. "But you're... I am the resurrection and the life," he says again. "And Martha, everything you've been learning, about rest, about trust, about letting go of control. This is why. Because you cannot carry everything. You cannot prevent every loss. You cannot save the people you love by the strength of your own hands." His voice softens. "But I can, and I will. And one day I'll call every name, and every tomb will open, and death itself will die." The words wash over her like water, like light, like something her soul has been starving for without knowing it. She thinks about the past months, the corrections, the lessons, the painful work of learning to stop. And she realizes he wasn't trying to diminish her. He was trying to save her from herself, from the crushing weight of trying to be God in her own life. Because she's not God. She was never meant to be. She was meant to be loved by him, carried by him, and yes, still meant to serve, but from rest, not for approval. "I understand now," she says. Jesus smiles. "Do you?" "Not completely, but enough." She stands, and he helps her up. "Enough to know that I can stop trying to hold everything together. Because you already are." The crowd is pressing in now, everyone wanting to see Lazarus, to touch him, to confirm that this impossible thing has actually happened. The religious leaders who were present. Martha notices them now, standing at the back. Their faces pale with shock, and something darker are whispering urgently to each other. She'll learn later that this miracle sealed Jesus' fate, that the authorities decided that day that he had to die, that a man who could raise the dead was too dangerous to let live, that in saving Lazarus, Jesus signed his own death warrant. But in this moment, she doesn't know that yet. In this moment, there's only joy, only wonder, only the impossible made real. The celebration continues as they return to the house. Lazarus is weak. Death and resurrection take their toll, but he's alive, and that's enough, more than enough. The mourners transform into revelers. Someone produces wine. Someone else begins singing. The house that was full of grief hours ago now overflows with laughter. Martha moves through it all in a daze. She serves because that's who she is. That's what she does. But it's different now, lighter. She stops often to just look at Lazarus, to confirm he's real. And each time, her heart swells with gratitude so intense, it's almost painful. As evening falls, Jesus finds her in the courtyard, taking a moment of quiet away from the noise. "You're tired," he says. "I am, but it's a good tired." She looks at him. "Thank you for all of it, for him, for me, for teaching me." Her voice catches. "For not giving up on me. I never would. I know that now." She pauses. What happens next? The teachers who were here, the Pharisees, their faces, they looked afraid. Jesus' expression grows somber. What happens next is, "I go to Jerusalem for Passover." Something in his tone makes her shiver. And I finish the work I came to do." "What work?" He doesn't answer directly. Instead, he takes her hand, gently, carefully, like it's precious. "Martha, everything I've taught you, about rest, about receiving before giving, about letting yourself be carried, you're going to need it. All of it. Very soon. I don't understand. You will, but for now," he squeezes her hand, "for now, celebrate. Your brother is alive, and that's not a small thing." He's right. It's not a small thing. It's everything. And so Martha lets herself sink into the joy of the moment, lets herself laugh with her siblings, lets herself serve from a place of gratitude instead of obligation. That night, after the guests have gone and the house is quiet, Martha lies on her sleeping mat between Mary and Lazarus, both of them breathing, living, present. She stares at the ceiling and thinks about everything that's happened. 6 months ago, she was drowning, striving, bleeding from trying to hold everything together with her own hands. And Jesus looked at her and said, "Stop. You're worried about many things, but only one thing is needed." She thought he was criticizing her work, but he was offering her life. And now, lying here with her brother restored, with her heart fuller than it's been in years, she finally understands what he meant. The one thing isn't doing less. It's not about abandoning service or responsibility. It's about knowing whose you are before you worry about what you do. She is his, beloved, not for her service, but in spite of her weakness. Not because she holds everything together, but because he does. And from that place, from being held first, she can serve, can give, can work. But without the desperate edge, without the fear that if she stops, everything will fall apart. Because it won't. Because he won't let it. Martha closes her eyes, and for the first time in her adult life, she feels truly at peace. Not because her circumstances are perfect, they're not. Not because all her questions are answered, they're not. But because she knows, deep in her bones, that she is seen, known, loved, and held by hands far stronger than her own. She thinks of Jesus' words, "I am the resurrection and the life," not "I teach about resurrection," not "I believe in resurrection." I am resurrection. I am life itself. And if that's true, if he really is who he says he is, then nothing is impossible. Not forgiveness for the woman who spent her whole life trying to earn worth, not rest for the woman who's afraid to stop, not life for the brother who was dead 4 days. Nothing is impossible. Martha smiles in the darkness and whispers to the silence, "Thank you." And somewhere, somehow, she knows he hears her. If this story touched something in you that you didn't know was there, subscribe and turn on the bell. Because Martha's journey, from striving to rest, from earning to receiving, from control to surrender, might be the journey you're on too. And if it is, know this: you are not loved for what you do. You are loved for whose you are. And the work will still be there. The service will still matter, but it'll flow from a different place now, not from fear, but from the unshakable knowledge that you are held. Share this with someone who's carrying too much, someone who's bleeding from trying to hold everything together, someone who needs to hear that the correction isn't rejection. It's an invitation to come home to the truth they've been running from their whole life. You are not the savior. You never were. But you are beloved, and that, more than anything else, changes everything.